Good evening, my name is Heather Crouse, and today I am going to teach you how to reframe your perspective on life. I am a person that is living in long-term recovery with mental illness issues. When I was younger, I had a really hard time communicating with people, and truthfully, a lot of times still do. Unlike most people that I know, when I have thoughts that come in my head, they don't come in the form of words. I think largely in images and colors. And occasionally there'll be a running movie with words attached to them, but largely I think through image. When I was a kid, I realized that I could use art to express myself. A few years ago, after I was in a really dark place in my life, I found that by taking the camera, setting up the tripod, and taking self-portraits, I could take the images that were plaguing inside my head, causing a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion, a lot of irritability, and put them into the camera. And once I got them out of my head through the camera and was able to get them out into the world, they stopped plaguing my head. Which is the first step of how I was able to find my voice through art, is self-expression. And I'm going to share a couple examples of self-expression. This one was taken in November when I was going through a rough period and I was having a hard time expressing how I felt. This image is a great representation of how I was feeling. I wanted to hide from the world, but at the same time I wanted to be a part of the world. And so I was able to use the camera to share with people what I was feeling at that moment. This one is a little older. But again, I wanted to reach out to people, but I have a hard time asking for help. Sandy can attest to this. She's seen me have meltdowns where I just really clench into myself. I don't want to be around people. It's embarrassing, it's difficult, and it's not fun. And this was me wanting to reach out to help, begging people to come out and help me, but not knowing how to say it, and reaching out for them as they're walking away because they didn't see me. This is a great image of what I was like when I started Toastmasters. I was just starting to look over the horizon and see that I could start speaking, become a little more comfortable, become a little more confident with who I was, and start using words instead of just imagery. So this is a representation of how the fact that I still hide, but I'm trying to get out more into the world. And one of the great things that I learned by doing these self-expressive photos is that I could use photos to tell stories. And not only tell stories through self-portraits to express myself, but to tell stories that people don't always want to hear. A lot of times people don't want to talk about some of the tougher subjects. For example, getting bullied, self-injury behaviors, or having suicidal thoughts. 2013, I had the opportunity to submit some of my work to a gallery show. The theme of the show was abandonment. And unlike most people, I didn't want to go out and take pictures of abandoned buildings. I wanted to showcase the people that society has abandoned. The people who are living on the streets, the kids that are getting the crap beat out of them at school and at home, and that people just turn away from. This is actually part of a photo essay I did called Breaking Point that deals with suicide prevention. It's loosely based off of my own story. 7.5 years ago, I attempted suicide by taking a fistful of pills. It's not that I wanted to die, I just wanted it to end. I couldn't deal with everything that was going on in my life. I felt like I had just lost everything I could lose, that I was causing too much pain to everybody around me, and so I took a fistful of pills. And this story is told in two parts. One where you walk away wondering what the outcome was, and then it's told again where somebody actually noticed him, reached out, and he gets the help that he needs. The nice thing about this image is that now it can be used for other things if it's standalone. It also tells the story of the opiate problem that we have in this country right now, especially in this county, which is getting a lot more attention. This is one of my favorite photos. This was a complete fluke. I was working through some self-expression photos when this image was captured. I had the camera set up on a self-timer, and I was hunched over because I was trying to express the loneliness and anger I was feeling. Max, who saved my life more than once, saw me hunched over and was concerned, so he came over and the camera clicked at that moment. This is a perfect representation of the relationship that I have with my furry teenage toddler. And once I realized that I could start telling stories to people and express things, I realized that I could take it a step further. And I started using photography as a way to share messages, to share hope. If you look on the table in front of you, you'll see some hearts that already have messages written on them. That is a part of a project that I started last year called Messages of Hope. All the messages written on those hearts are either messages that I've heard myself, some that I've told myself, others were given to me by other peers. And what we did is we worked together with peers, and I took photos of their hands to show. The idea was that these people are giving hope to others. They went through those and they chose the parts that had the messages that they wanted to convey, the ones that meant the most to them. I've taken these images and I've actually created them in business card size cards called Messages of Hope. The intent to get them out into the world to share hope with others. These are all messages that I've told myself that have helped me get through the tough times in my own life. I've used these images when I was going through a rough time and I needed something. I've given cards to other people when I saw them going through a rough time. In fact, I gave this one to my mother last month when she got home from the pool and she was really down on herself. She felt like she hadn't pushed herself hard enough and she was really driving me nuts because of her negativity. And so instead of simply telling her, I handed her this card to let her know what I was thinking. And that actually helped her more than me just telling her the words, because the image conveyed more than I can through language. So now, if you see on the table, there are 3 sets of foam cutouts. The ones in the middle give you an example of some of the other messages, not just the ones that were included here. And you have a set of hearts and a set of stars that are both blank in Sharpies. So what I'd like for you to do right now is to pick a couple of the shapes that are blank, grab a Sharpie, and think for a moment about some of your own messages of hope, courage, strength that you want to share with yourself or share with others. And then we're going to move forward, and I'm going to teach you how to reframe your perspective with photography. Don't see anybody else who had a camera, but thankfully we all have cell phones. And cell phones nowadays all have cameras. One of the great things about this is that you don't have to have a fancy camera to take good photos. Art is not about your tools, it's about your intention. So I'm going to give you a minute to sit down and think about the messages that you want to share with people, and go ahead and write them on your hearts or stars, whichever shape you prefer. And I know this can be difficult, so I want you to think of a time in your life when you needed a positive affirmation that you were going to give to yourself. It can be a phrase, it can be a simple word, you can draw a picture. Whatever it is that gives you hope, conveys a courage or strength from your personal life. And if you need examples, please feel free to look through the hearts. You can do more than one, there are plenty available. So once you've completed writing your messages, what I'd like for you to do is put them into the center with the messages that are already there. So that we have a pile of them all together. So here's some of, in case you guys want a heart and can't reach it. Try not to overthink it, Jeannie. I can see your wheels spinning. Don't overthink about it. Just think about if you were having a rough day and you just felt like the world was falling apart around you, or you had a hard day at work and you have to put down an animal. What are some of the things that a coworker said to you, or you've said to yourself, or something you've said to someone that had to put down a cherished loved one because of illness or age, and they just needed that little push? What would you tell them? Share some of my favorites with you guys. For example, embrace the diversity. You are the difference. Connect with someone. Something I still struggle with. This is a personal mantra of mine when I started running in 2014 again. You are strong enough, you are tough enough, you are worth enough. And it actually got me through my first 5K. And hopefully my next 5K later this month. Hope, hold on, pain ends. So these are just, like I said, some different ideas for you. If you need some, if you're running out of ideas, we're going to put them all together in a simple pile. And once you finish writing all the messages you can think about, go through the pile and find the ones that mean the most to you. They don't have to be your own messages. And to be honest, I would prefer you to pick someone else's. And once everyone is ready, let me know and we'll move on to the next phase.
I just want to make sure this is recording, that the light's flashing red. I hit the start.
If it's not, Dave will just regret not being here tonight.
Well, I wanted this for my son. I'll tell you later.
Okay. My goal is to actually do this in the community, so this is kind of a workshop environment. Are you ready to choose?
Sure, I can choose.
So,
Should I just blind choose it, or?
no, I want you to go through and pick the ones that speak to you, the ones that, if you were having a hard time, what are the things that you would want to see or hear?
What if they all speak to me?
I'd say pick your top 3.
Okay.
3 or 4, because normally I would say as many as you want, but with the time constraint, I want to make sure you have enough time. Guess what we're going to do next is you guys are going to create your own messages of hope with your cameras. And I'm going to show you the difference between taking a pretty picture and creating an artistic image. And for anybody who tells me they're not a photographer, I'm going to prove to you that you're wrong. So, one of the key things that most people don't understand about art anybody can be an artist. Art is an expression of self, so there is no right or wrong. The camera, in this case, is simply a tool to help you express yourself. And the key when you are taking a photo, between taking just a pretty picture of a flower and creating an artistic image of that same flower, is your intention. So what you're going to do with the hearts and stars that you have chosen, what I want you to do is I want you to think about what it says on there. And Sandy, since I know you don't have an extra phone.
Oh, well, that's all right.
See, I don't have one.
It'll keep coming. It'll go back to it,
Okay, well,
I think.
so what I want you to do, and we can, no dying here, we can either stay in this area or we can go out a little bit where there's a little more room. We'll just stop the camera because this part isn't as important to be recorded. What I want you to do is I want you to think about how you're going to take your phrases that you have to create an image, to tell a story, to express yourself, or to share these messages with someone else. So here's the key here. You guys are going to work together, because let's say somebody wants to do something similar where you have somebody holding out the heart. It's kind of hard to hold a heart and take a picture at the same time. I know, I've done it. That's where the tripod comes in really handy. But I want you to work together, because when you collaborate with one another, it creates a sense of unity. We're all different people, but we're all the same at the same time. And so once we embrace those differences and embrace the diversity, we become a stronger group, which is going to help not only here, but when you leave here, you'll have that in your mind. When you look back at these images, you can think about this process. And my hope is that you'll take this and continue it afterwards. Continue to do similar things. So what I want you to do is I want you to each take the images that you have and determine what type of background you want to use and what type of image you want to create, and I'm going to help you with that. Normally I would say go outside, but it's a bit nippy and a bit dark, but we have couches and we have the table and we can get creative within this area as well. Who would like to start? Okay.
Yep.
Grab
So-
your heart and grab your phone.
Okay.